Hello and welcome to Fortune India. We are back again with yet another interesting issue of the magazine. And as always, the team at Fortune India puts in a lot of effort to put each and every issue that we write every month. The August issue of Fortune India is the Billionaires Special. And I have with me V. Keshav Dev, Executive Editor, Fortune India, who's going to take you through how we put this issue together. So, Keshav, it'll be interesting to hear from you as to what went into the billionaires issue and how rich have the billionaires become this year.
Yeah, hi Ajita. It was actually a very interesting thought that went into making this issue because if you know, it's more than 3 years that we have started the rich list. But this time we chose to kind of rename it as the top 100 because Fortune is known for its signature property editions like Fortune 500, the MNC 500. So we said that the billionaire factory is very much alive and kicking. You yourself know that how FMCG, you've seen Haldiram becoming the new billionaire and he's part of the list.
There are a lot of regional
titans coming up. So we thought that why not curate it and restrict the universe to top 100 instead of just calling it the Fortune India Rich List. So while the previous issue we had around 81, 85 plus billionaires with a cutoff of 8576 crore, we said that this time we will curate the entire list of billionaires, but we will restrict it to the top 100. And that's how the whole Rich List top 100 idea came about, so that it gives you a much more focused and nuanced look. As you know that over the years, the wealth has just been compounding, and in recent years, the markets has gone from, though it's been flat, the velocity of money is not stopping. So, because of that, valuations have gone up. So the rich list continues to be, powering ahead as usual. So, and that's the way we decided to keep it up.
So when I was reading your opening essay, there was an interesting analogy on, the burger, a new recipe for the burger. It was a new millionaire burger, which you've talked about. So what is this millionaire burger all about?
You keep looking at, what kind of a hook you would need to, get into writing. It was going to be a top 100 billionaires. And it's at the end of the day, it's saying that after a certain threshold, it just becomes a number, So, and that was an interesting conversation that Bill Gates had with students in the US. It was somewhere, I think, to 2010 or 2011. And where he said, beyond a certain point, a burger is a burger. So what he wanted to say is that after a certain threshold, whatever you eat, it doesn't change, so it's just a number. So that was the whole idea of, saying that if indeed it's, if it's just a hamburger, so why not, instead of just adding patties to your burger, let's curate and create our own signature burger. That was the kind of hook that I
So what really went into creating the Fortune India Millionaire Burger? How have we done it differently? Can you take us through the methodology a little?
The methodology is very clear. Rich List is largely curated based on market cap and valuations and what the promoters hold. And obviously, we ask them to share their kind of personal wealth that they have. We send out surveys to them. But primarily, it's largely derived from the market cap of their listed entities and unlisted entities. I'm not getting too much into the nitty-gritties of, what are the multiples, but largely it's a market cap driven valuation exercise. And like we said that we curated the entire list. This is a list of largely dollar billionaires. And that's how we had started the original list as, you take a cutoff of dollar billionaires, a cutoff of whatever is the closing of the rupee. And this year, it is like 8576 is the cutoff for the rupee, and because of which your 8576 becomes the bottom cutoff for the dollar billionaire. And that's how we curated the entire list. And within that, we had the top 100 as the cutoffs. So that's how, and nothing has changed. It's more or less remained the same. The process remains the same. It's just that we have stuck it to the top 100. So if you really want to be in the Fortune 100, you have to really make it through.
So who are the top 5 billionaires? Are they the usual suspects? And have they become richer, or has their wealth gone down?
For the first time, you're seeing a lot of wealth erosion, except for Mr. Sunil Mittal, who has seen a significant jump that is around 84,000 plus crore. All the others, the number one and the number two, have seen over 1 lakh crore of market cap erosion. And I mean, you know what's happening in the markets because of the tariff tantrums and generally about valuations, geopolitical uncertainty, and all of those things have kind of compounded. And, for the first time, there has been a significant wealth erosion. But like we have mentioned out, the cumulative value of the top 100 remains over $1 trillion.
Wow.
And this time also they are kind of held on to that. So that's, I mean, let's say that's some kind of, power that this
That's the
list
silver
has
lining clearly.
clearly in this year.
So, going forward with all these tariff confusions happening, do you expect the wealth to kind of dip further by next year?
There is a possibility that things might, take, I mean, the markets, since it's a completely market driven list, there could be some volatility in the markets. That's quite expected. But I think everyone is hoping that this time the festive season will be much better. Things will start looking up. And hence, as a result of that, you will see some rub-off effect on earnings and stuff like that. So I think we can safely assume the $1 trillion should remain intact. Within that, who kind of, gains most, who kind of, loses. I mean, you cannot put out, an emphatic answer to that. But we can safely assume that $1 trillion will remain next year and all.
So, apart from the methodology and the way we have put it together, the issue also has some very interesting stories on various millennials or various trends. Would you like to throw some light on it?
See, the one that I mean, I have always have high regards for is RK Damani. You yourself been tracking, the guy who has created,
DMart.
DMart. And what's fascinating about him is that he's primarily an investor. He's not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yet he started off, at the peak of 2000 when the world was, talking of, the tech stocks and all. He had created DMart and he had set up the first store. So his ability to look beyond the noise at that point, at the peak of, what you call it, the tech boom, and, start into that. And obviously, we know that he's also an investor. So that was one profile which I found interesting, and also because he never speaks. So it becomes all the more challenging for you as a writer to kind of get. So thankfully, I got to speak to a couple of, market experts who have closely watched him. And that's what the story tells you.
And he never speaks to the media.
Yeah.
So all the reporting you would have done would have been from outside. And,
True.
So what really does the market think about him? Because
I mean, the market,
has he evolved? Has the perception evolved in any way?
The thing is that no one really has a clue of, how he thinks, what he thinks, because he's never spoken.
Yeah.
Even among his friends, he's the very silent type. Even, in fact, that is what I mentioned in my story, that at the time of his listing, he was there on the dais, but he never and he never spoke to it, So that's the kind of thing. But you know that he's a Parma bull. I mean, he knows where the big story is going to emerge. So in 2000, if you could think that India retail story is going to play out, you can imagine the kind of foresight that he has. But one thing is very clear, even after DMart, the second biggest valuation that he has is in National Stock Exchange. Now, again, if you see National Stock Exchange, the country's biggest stock exchange, and it is also going public. So you might see his valuations just, skyrocket from what it is. So, I mean, that is his ability to look at the big picture and, play the big markets.
Interesting. So I think the only corporate story which we've done,
I mean, the what is the Tata Consumer. So you have to tell me, there has been a lot of noise around, how Tata Consumer has been reinventing itself. There has been, market has been looking forward to the gentleman who has taken charge. So if you could share some insights into how Sunil D'Souza has really proved to be a change agent, and, what are the building blocks that really made...
So Sunil D'Souza, when he was offered this job way back in 2019, he told me that he did not want to take it at that point of time. So when the headhunter called him, he said, no, that company doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Those days I think it had just become TCPL. It used to be Tata Global Beverages, which only had Tata Tea at that point of time.
He was with Whirlpool, right?
He was with Whirlpool. So he kind of actually turned down the offer. Then the headhunter apparently told him that Mr. Chandrasekaran himself wants to meet him, the chairman of Tata Group himself wants to meet him. And then he heard him out. And then a few days later, he saw himself walking into Mr. Chandrasekaran's office. And Mr. Chandrasekaran said that, we have the Tata Trust, we have the Tata legacy, but somehow when it comes to consumer-facing businesses, we have not been able to turn it around. And his goal was to make Tata Consumer, backed by the legacy that group enjoys, into one of the largest FMCG companies. And that's how the journey began. So what they did was they took Tata Salt and Sampann, which was the Staples brand, pulled it out of Tata Chemicals, and they put it they formed TCPL, which is Tata Consumer Products.
Whose idea was that to bring that particular?
It was Chandra's idea. It was Chandra's idea, and they merged both of them, and they called it Tata Consumer Products Limited. That's when Sunil D'Souza came in, and that's when the entire journey of revamping the whole business started. And it was complex is actually an understatement. It had some 45 legal entities under that company.
Right.
And they reduced from 40.
They were the brands that were the legal.
No, there was Tata Coffee, which was B2B, and it was a listed entity, listed subsidiary of another listed company. So it was hugely complex, and Mr. D'Souza calls it entangling a ball in a bowl of noodles. It was literally like that. Okay. And they kind of straightened the governance, they straightened the company structure, and then they kind of decided to focus on areas and play in areas which nobody was playing, where they have a right to win. So they, like in the staples category, they were already in staples, they were in pulses. They decided to play in, they decided not to play in atta. They said, we'll play in staples, we'll play in ragi, we'll play in millets. And that's how they also acquired a lot of brands. And one of them was Tata Soulful, which is now called Tata Soulful. It was Soulful, which was a millets brand. It was a millet snacking brand. And now they are kind of getting into other categories under Soulful.
They've done also a recent acquisition of the Ching's brand, right? How big?
Yes, Capital Foods. Right. And with that, they have got into the instant noodles category. They are playing, they're competing with Maggi, but not exactly competing with Maggi, because they are building the Desi Chinese story. Sure. Like in India, though we may say that we have multiple cuisines, every 200 kilometers, the cuisine changes, the food preference change. But what cuts across the entire country is Desi Chinese. You go to Kerala, you go to the Northeast, you go wherever, you'll find Desi Chinese there. So they are building the narrative. They're coming up with a lot of value-added packaged foods and all under the Capital Foods umbrella, which is Ching's and Smith & Jones. And they've also acquired Organic India. So
is that organic growth story going to be largely, will you have a twin engine kind of growth where you will have the organic products also being pushed? And will there be an overemphasis on inorganic growth through acquisitions, or do you think it's done?
No, they said they're open to acquiring. Okay. But they will just not go acquiring mindlessly. It has to fit into their portfolio. Only then they will acquire. They've also kind of grown the international business in a big way. Okay. And so in some markets, like international was not going anywhere. Okay. In some markets, they were only selling tea. In some markets, they were only selling coffee. Now they're selling both tea and coffee across geographies. They're getting into newer geographies like the UAE. They're also taking their...
Is it the old legacy brands which are being pushed internationally, or is it also the new acquired brands that are being...
New, so Soulful in the US is sold as Joyful, because there was something to do with the brand name there. Trademark issues. It's sold as Joyful. And Organic India was always had over close to 40% of its revenue from the beginning, came from international markets. So they are playing up that story, and they also looking at taking Capital Foods range of products into markets like Canada and US, which has a diaspora audience. So they are kind of they are building those brands which they have acquired in those markets, and they're also taking the Indian brands to those markets.
Since you have been tracking FMCG for, decades now, and you've also done a story on the consumption, the challenge on consumption. So obviously, Tata Consumer will not be immune to that. And that's also, we have seen it in the stock price that over the past 1 year, it has been not really moved and it's lost a 10% odd. So what's the challenge there? Is it a problem of the economy and the market per se, or is it there are issues still there within that Tata Consumer has to overcome?
No, not really. The challenge actually cuts across for all the large FMCG companies. It's
Okay.
not Tata Consumer alone because there's a lot of competition from the direct to consumer brands, and there is also the regional brands across regions have pulled up their socks. They are no longer fly by night operators. So if you walk into a store, say in Jaunpur in Uttar Pradesh, so I was there some time back to report for a consumption story. And I was pleasantly surprised to find a brand called Zero Belly. It is a muesli brand, okay, which was sharing the shelf with Kellogg's. And it was not like very competitively priced, maybe 1 or 2 rupees cheaper, but there were enough takers for that brand because and the packaging was extremely good. It looked like any international brand. So what I'm trying to point out is even the regional brands are pulling up their socks and they are trying to be give tough competition to all these big brands. And the big brands are the national brands, while they may not admit, across categories are losing market share in those smaller geographies. But again, you have the upstart Reliance, which has come in now.
Sure.
And their strategy is very different.
Right.
I mean, there's a mass strategy. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. So interesting is the word. I mean, interesting both from an FMCG list point of view and also from the fact that, maybe when next year when we come and curate the rich list, you will have far more FMCG billionaires in that
Yes.
than what it is.
Yes. And they may be regional titans, you never know. Just as Haldiram, as you said.
So I would like to have your views as closing comments on what you think. Which way is the wind blowing and how do you look forward to the festive season that's going down?
I think this time the festive season is going to be interesting because the monsoons have been good. And in India, everything begins and starts with monsoons. If the monsoons are good, consumption will pick up. Inflation is low. I'm quite optimistic about the festive season. And as one of our colleagues on the other day was saying, telling us that this time the rains have come in early. The summers have not been as oppressive. So we may also get a few good deals during the festival season because especially when it comes to categories like consumer durables.
Yep.
So, you may get some good deals because they would be looking at getting rid of their inventory. So I think it's time to shop and enjoy and look forward to the festive season. And do read Fortune India. Don't forget to pick up your copy.
Thank you.
Thank you.